Sorry that we kind of had some of the family hours spill into when the professionals arrived. Dr. Schreiber had offered to give a summary of the event from yesterday evening, which Wishes for Elliot hosted the leading clinicians and researchers in the SCN8A community. So if you have questions when Dr. Schreiber returns at some point later in the evening, please do feel free to follow up with him. So I first of all want to thank you all for coming to the second annual Acute Syndrome Foundation SCN8A Clinician, Researcher, and Family Gathering. Thank you all for joining us this evening, for taking time out of your busy schedules this weekend for our SCN8A community. And I can say if history repeats itself, this should be a really inspiring and enlightening event for everybody. So thank you for coming. I've met many of you before at our inaugural event last December in Philadelphia, but for those of you who don't know me, I'd like to take a few moments to introduce myself. I'm a pharmacist by trade, and my husband's a physician, and I can honestly say that I never expected our medical training to be used in our own home with our own child. No amount of that medical training could have prepared us for the challenges of raising a daughter with SCN8A epilepsy. I'm going to spend a bit of time talking about the sequence of events that has led me here to where I am today with all of you. Adeline's seizures being 5 months of age, and we ultimately, I'm sorry, my slides, I believe, are out of order. I apologize. So anyways, I'll continue. I'm going to spend a few minutes talking about, well, apparently we're going to be like yesterday where I can't get the slides to advance. Okay. I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking about the sequence of events that's led me here today. My daughter Adeline began having seizures at 5 months of age, and by 7 months she was diagnosed with SCN8A. Thank you. Since that fateful day in October of 2013, I've created the Facebook page Help Adeline Find Answers in hopes of connecting with researchers and other families. It's where I've shared my daughter's journey publicly, every struggle and every celebration over the past 3 years in hopes of raising awareness of epilepsy, SUDEP, and SCN8A specifically. I'm the creator and the administrator of the SCN8A Family Support Group, which started as a small network of 5 families back in 2014 and has grown to an active, engaged community representing 113 families working together to drive SCN8A research and promote patient advocacy. Since 2015, I've served with Savoie as the SCN8A advisor to the Acute Syndrome Foundation. In this role, I direct all SCN8A Foundation efforts, including patient advocacy, community networking, and promoting our relationships with clinicians and investigators. So thank you all for being here. When Adeline was diagnosed with SCN8A back in 2013, there was only 1 case reported in the literature. 1. Remember, Dr. Harris? And it was thought that Adeline was only the 12th known case worldwide. PubMed searches yielded very little in humans. Quite a bit was available in mice. And that was pretty much it. Desperate for scientific and personal connections is when I created my page. Within 3 months, through Facebook, we connected with our first family. And by spring, 2 other families had found us just from going onto Google and searching the terms SCN8A. One of them was actually the family of Elliot from Wishes for Elliot. Around that same time, Adeline's stability declined, and we made the decision to finally attempt treatment with oxcarbazepine, known in the United States as trilitol. The choice to use a sodium channel blocker was unnerving due to the early confusion between treatment options for SCN1A versus SCN8A. I'm thankful we did have Dr. Mandy Harris to provide us with the rationale to support that decision and to emotionally support us through that decision with our daughter. By the summer, the support group was created and included 8 members representing only 5 children with SCN8A, all from the United States. We shared experiences and advice and compared treatment and therapy regimens, but most importantly, we supported one another. We finally found people with whom we could relate when it seemed the rest of the world could simply never understand the lives of those with children with SCN8A. To fast forward to today, Adeline walks, talks, runs, and fights with her big sister, as she should as a 3.5-year-old. With this, it's important to clarify that there are 3 things I've never forgotten or taken for granted. The first being just how unwell Adeline once was not that long ago. The second being how fragile other children still are today. And the third being that everything Adeline has worked for, all of our children, everything they've gained can all disappear tomorrow. No matter what end of the vast spectrum a child is on SCN8A, that's the reality for all of us. Seizures or not, we know that SUDEP exists. It's not a secret anymore. We're aware of it and we're scared. If you remember, the support group started just 2 years ago and represented 5 people with SCN8A. Today we have 113, this is just a portion of them, 113 babies, children, and adolescents represented in our group, coming from 22 countries across the globe. So 2 years, that's how much we've grown. As you can imagine, this amount of growth in our community has been a lot for this mom of 3 young children to manage alone. Because of this exponential growth within our community, 4 parent volunteers have stepped up to help moderate the family support group. I'm going to try and progress through my slides here. That's Adeline when she was a baby and her big sister. That's Adeline when she was first having seizures at 5 months. And then, sorry. So this is where I wanted to show the growth. So we have in the red the total known SCN8A diagnoses, and we have in the blue the number of SCN8A patients that are represented in the support group over time. So if you see just in the last couple years our exponential growth, we don't see this stopping. It happened in SCN1A, it happened in SCN2A, and there's no reason that it's not going to continue in our population as well. So with that, our support group has the 4 moderators that I mentioned. I would like to thank each of them publicly for their dedication to our community and willingness to sacrifice their time from their families to ensure that each new patient, when each new person is diagnosed, his or her family doesn't spend one unnecessary moment alone the way that many of us have. If you are present, please stand when I say your name so we can all acknowledge your contribution to this community. Shelley? Maggie? Where's Maggie? There she is. Thank you both. And then also Sandy and Karen, who couldn't be here, are pictured with their beautiful families. Sandy's son Cameron, that's being held by her husband, and Karen's daughter Lily in the red there are both 2 of our SCN8A children as well. So I'd like to give them a round of applause. So that, despite our small number, we are certainly very strong in our fight. We come together to celebrate successes and mourn setbacks and losses together. We are SCN8A family, and together we are SCN8A strong. Since 2011, we know of 7 lives that have been lost to SCN8A. The families of all of these children remain connected with our support group, and they each make up a big part of our SCN8A family. Let's take a few moments to acknowledge, honor, and reflect upon the lives of these SCN8A angels. As I go through, I'm going to say each of their names so you can see their pictures. Shay Hammer, James Cleary, Tristan Tong. This was the first family I connected with back in 2014. Easton Brunty, Rebecca Owens, Jacob Falls, and Dustin Ide. All of these children have a legacy that will live on through each of us in this room as we strive for successful treatments and improved quality of life, breakthroughs and advances in scientific research, and tireless patient advocacy and family support. What once began as a desperate and very lonely quest for answers, appropriate treatment, and support for Adeline has transformed into what today is a battle for all of those with SCN8A, including those whom we haven't yet met. This fight's bigger than her. It's bigger than all of these faces. We know that within a few years, this is how many people are going to be on this collage, okay? And this is what inspires us. It's not just for my child or the children represented here. It's for what we know is to come. We know there are children out there undiagnosed. We know genetic testing is improving and it's happening more frequently, which is wonderful. We're getting, we just had our newest family from Syria last week. So it's happening everywhere and it's wonderful, but we need to be prepared for this. We really do, as a community and as professionals out in the workforce. Our goals are to ensure that no families are alone upon receiving diagnosis, to improve the lives of all those affected by SCN8A mutations, to inspire researchers to make SCN8A their life's work, and to save the lives of all of our children. While very significant to me, Adeline is only a piece of this journey. She lit the fire in me that has allowed me to reach to the ends of the earth to find anyone who knows anything about this disease. Watching all of these children struggle, and even some of them lose their fight, has kept that fire and quest for answers burning. Excuse me. Perhaps what is most motivating is that soon there will be thousands of these faces that we're fighting for. As you've learned, this has been a long journey for my family. It's one that I would not have allowed me to be in front of you if it weren't for the support and partnership of my husband, Josh. He's here in the audience today. I wouldn't have been able to take on my roles within the SCN8A community nor the Cute Syndrome Foundation with as much passion and vigor as I have done without him by my side, especially with 3 small children. I think we have a wonderful agenda for this evening. I truly hope that each of you leaves feeling inspired to continue great work treating, researching, and advocating for epilepsy, and specifically SCN8A. I have to share the little-known fact that last year in my early planning, I expected this to be a casual, very small gathering over pizza in my hotel room in Philadelphia. The overwhelming level of interest made me quickly realize that I'd be planning an event that was so much needed by this community of families and professionals to come together that we ended up hosting nearly 100 individuals last year. We were a bit disorganized, to say the least. The menu offered a dinner that was anything but desirable. I apologize. We had cold cuts that were warm and hot soup that was cold, so I'm sorry. We started fundraising only 4 weeks before. We went over our time at the end of the evening, which as it looks now, we probably will again. Yet the response we received from so many of you was nothing other than a huge support and strong desire to join every year as we made this our plan to make it an annual event. And here you are, again, thank you. This year we were fortunate enough to receive event sponsorship, and I'd like to thank our sponsors for making today even better than our inaugural event. When I mention each company or organization, would representatives who are in attendance, sorry, I have to go backwards, please stand so we can acknowledge you. Here we go. The Rare Epilepsy Network, RTI International, thanks Barb. Xenon Pharmaceuticals, I believe there's a number of you. Thank you. And a number of you also attended last year. You've given us a lot of hope, and I feel very strongly and fortunate for the relationships that we've been able to foster. Thank you. Upshur Smith Laboratories. No. And Pairnomics. Thank you, Connie. Thank you all for your willingness to support our Young Foundation and for recognizing the potential for long-term relationships with the SCN8A community. Being a nonprofit that is 100% volunteer-run, all by SCN8A parents, your support was vital to this effort. Thank you for your generosity. Now I'd like to introduce you to our next speaker, my foundation partner and very dear friend, Hilary Savoie. Hilary is truly a pillar, an icon in our community. Through partnerships, Hilary has not only raised hundreds of thousands of dollars to support both PCDH19 and SCN8A epilepsy research, but she has also been pivotal in increasing SCN8A awareness over the past 2 years. By taking me under her wing at the Cute Syndrome, Hilary has dollars with our partners by way of, for grants specifically for SCN8A. While her daughter Esme is the Cute, the namesake for the Cute Syndrome Foundation, by way of its broad mission, the SCN8A community has been gifted a nonprofit home that has become the trademark of our SCN8A. Hilary has been a true team player. She took me in as her partner in 2015, and since that time has welcomed another 9 parent volunteers who have been given a focus and a purpose to contribute to a community that is much larger than any of our individual children. I can honestly say that without a shadow of a doubt, we would not be in this room gathered together, clinicians, researchers, advocates, and families, if it weren't for Hilary's unwavering dedication to our community and her uncanny ability to turn my often random and grandiose plans into a reality. Please join me in a round of applause as I present to you Hilary Savoie and her commitment to our community.
Hi, everyone. I'm going to try to make this short, but I have a little bit of a story to tell you. So I'm Hilary Savoie. I'm the founder and director of the Acute Syndrome Foundation, and many of you already know me in that role, but I want to talk a little bit more on a personal level. As many of you may know, my daughter Esme, who's 6 years old, has been unwell since birth with a number of serious medical and developmental challenges. When she was a baby, we didn't have a name to call what she had. So the quick wit of a very dear friend named Dana landed us with the name acute syndrome for what Esme had, because we knew she had something, and she was really, really cute. So it worked. At the end of 2012, we were finally given what we thought would be at least a partial diagnosis for my daughter, and we dove into fundraising almost immediately, starting the Acute Syndrome Foundation. Within a year, we had helped to fund 2 major grants totaling over $150,000 with one of our partner organizations in Italy. But here's the thing. The disorder Esme had been diagnosed with, it's called TCSF. A few years ago, after her diagnosis, we were told that to the best of everyone's genetic knowledge, which is, I think many of us in this room know, expanding daily, it seemed like PCDH19, her mutation, it wasn't likely disease-causing after all. Instead, in late 2014, we were told that she had another mutation as well, one that might cause her symptoms, and it's the disorder that brings us here today, SCN8A. Realizing very quickly how severe and frightening SCN8A was, I took my sort of confusion about this change in diagnosis and focused as much as possible on how the foundation could change to act on this new diagnosis.
I very quickly got in touch with Michael Hammer, with Jayetta and Gabby from Wishes for Elliot,
and with Juliann, who was running her Facebook support group. And I dove in eager to use what I had learned about PCDH19 and fundraising to help the SCN8A community. In the almost 2 years since then, we've made really wonderful strides, and I have to say especially much since Juliann joined me as my partner. We're 2 years into organizing this annual event.
We've developed an SCN8A clinician reference guide, which some of you may have seen on your way in.
We've formed a fruitful partnership with our friends at Epilepsy SCN8A Brazil, and we funded 2 SCN8A grants. Last year, we co-funded a grant to Dr. Michael Hammer for his
SCN8A registry with Wishes for Elliot. And early this year, we co-funded a grant to Dr. Miriam Meisler with Epilepsy SCN8A Brazil for her SCN8A research. But you know what? In those odd kinds of twists of fate and the ever-expanding knowledge behind modern genetics, in the last year, it's become clear that my daughter's SCN8A mutation probably isn't the full source of her conditions either.
This is not an insignificant bump in my journey, and it might be easier to have chosen to see, after investing so much time and energy in now 2 disorders that my daughter may not actually have, it would be easy to see that as a loss. And I would be lying if I said it wasn't a difficult process and difficult for me to come to terms with, because it was. But it was also a gift of a kind. The diagnostic change made it very clear to me that the Acute Syndrome Foundation is about something more than the apparently fickle nature of my daughter's genetic diagnostics. Because no matter what labels are given or taken away from Esme, she and I found something we've been looking for in the SCN8A community. We found children who were like Esme, kids dealing with feeding and breathing and movement challenges. We found a community that needed and wanted our help. And I found an amazing partner in Juliann. Running this foundation is a true labor of love, and Juliann has given so much to this community, and her focus on family support and advocacy and she has helped the Acute Syndrome Foundation become so much more than I ever imagined. In the SCN8A community, we also found dedicated parents like Daniel. Could you stand up? And Nathan and Nira, please, if you would stand up as well. They run a foundation in Brazil and have co-funded a grant with us and are here running our AV and making sure that all of our international families can hear what we're doing here today. Thank you guys. And also our long-term volunteers who help with fundraising, awareness raising, and advocacy. And could you all stand up when I call your name? Mackenzie Wardrop, Dianali Cabrera, Jessica Jenkins. These are mothers who are willing to fight not only for their own children, but for something bigger, for a whole community, and they do so with such open hearts and drive. Thank you, guys. While my own daughter's diagnoses are still murky, Michael Hammer, together with another geneticist, Joseph Getz, have found 2 more genes that seem to be potential causes for her symptoms. They're called TBL1XR1. That's, I thought PCDH19 was tough, and MAP3K7, giving her a total of 4 genetic mutations. Our experience has been such that I am not holding my breath that this will be the last time our diagnosis changes. In fact, I still kind of feel weird claiming those awkward sets of numbers and letters for my daughter. And I hope someday that I will feel comfortable enough with her diagnosis that if needed, I will be able to fight for her in the way I now fight and dedicate myself for the SCN8A community. But no matter what happens with her genetic diagnoses, no matter what, the SCN8A community will be part of our mission at the Acute Syndrome Foundation. I will support Juliann as our SCN8A advisor, in charge of running our family support group and driving the SCN8A agenda of funding research, raising awareness, and supporting families, as she's done again this year with this event. No matter what we find in my daughter's genes, there is nothing that will change the feeling that my home is here with all of you. If I've learned anything in this journey through coming to terms with all of these changes, it's that the only way to move forward is together. I'm so pleased to know that there are so many of you here today who are dedicated to moving this work forward. Researchers, some of whose work the Acute Syndrome has funded in the past, both for PCDH19 and SCN8A, clinicians wanting to improve the quality of care for their patients, other organizations who will work to improve the quality of life for children like ours, and most especially families who are here to learn, help fundraise and organize and awareness raise. I'm deeply proud of the ways in which this parent community has pulled together around Juliann's vision of not only a group on Facebook where families can find support, but also to an approach to the SCN8A community that has been about including families in the most up-to-date understanding of research and clinical treatments, about collecting data about mutations and phenotypes since day 1 in preparation for registries and clinical trials, and about giving families and clinicians the tools like the SCN8A Clinician Research Guide, reference guide, that we developed this year with the help of Dr. Mandy Harris and Dr. Philip Pearl to help our community's experiences inform clinical decisions and help families advocate for their children. Since all of the SCN8A families expressed wanting the opportunity to meet each other, and since so many of our families are interested in ongoing SCN8A research, Juliann envisioned this event as a follow-up to the Wishes for Elliott Scientific Conference in April of 2015 that happened at the American Academy of Neurology. She saw the Acute Syndrome annual event as a chance for families to be able to understand the work that so many of you are doing, and for researchers to see the faces of all of the families that their work is supporting. After a wonderful event last year, as Juliann said, where we welcomed almost 100 attendees, clinicians, researchers, and families, I have no doubt that tonight will be a wonderful evening as well. And I really want to thank Juliann, who has magically left the room, for her vision. So we can clap for her even though she's not here, I think. Josh will accept. And we also just really want to help we want to thank our volunteers who helped organize the event and our support group volunteers. A big thanks again to our partner organization in Brazil, I'd also like to thank our photographer, Ryan Collard, who some of you might recognize from last year and who's here again. We'd like to thank the researchers and clinicians who've taken time away from this really busy AES event to support our community, and a special thanks to our speakers again and our sponsors for giving us the ability to expand this event from last year. And finally, to the families who have traveled so far, many of you, to be here today. You are really what makes this event so special. Tonight, we're going to have talks from researchers, and clinicians, and family members. And we're going to have dinner around 7, so we'll break for that. And I think Gianali can come up and introduce our first speaker.